Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of 9mm and Chill. We are here with Brennah. Brennah, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I am doing awesome. Thank you for making the drive out here. Usually these are done during the day. Our friend Sean, the machinist, who you might remember from the Tacticloak episode at SHOT Show, where he was interrupting us incessantly. And actually I cut about half of it out, and there's still quite a bit in there. I guess let's start at the beginning. Where are you from?
Colorado. I grew up in Aurora.
Oh, okay, so you're born and raised? Mm-hmm. Cool. Have you ever lived anywhere else?
I lived in Colby, Kansas for a little bit, but only for volleyball in college.
Oh, okay.
So I went from a high school that had a graduating class of like 600 to 800 to a town, or the entire college was like 600 to 800.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier I have a buddy who lives in Ohio. He lives in Guernsey County, which is like right by the West Virginia border. His whole school had 40 people in it.
Yeah, so a girl on my team went to a different smaller town in Kansas too, and her graduating class had 8 people.
That's crazy. I had 3,000 kids in my class.
Oh my God.
Not my graduating class.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, not
I
my
was
class.
like, oh my God.
My school.
Are you from Colorado?
No, I'm from LA.
Oh.
Don't. I can vote and I can shoot. I'm not one of those. Driving is questionable at times. We have you here because you are a competitive shooter. So do you keep things local or no? I just saw you were at Nats recently, right?
Yeah, and I only started traveling more recently. So I signed up for Handgun Nationals a month before Nationals. It's in a division I don't shoot. And then I'm actually going to Open Nationals next week.
Hell yeah.
In a whole different division I also don't shoot.
That's great. Yeah, I've told Bronson before that when I play pool, I always do best when I play left-handed, right? Because like it forces you to focus. Maybe
no, that makes sense.
Right? You might do really well because it's not something that you're used to doing.
Yeah, that would
Back to
actually make
basics.
sense.
What was it that drew you to firearms to begin with? What aspect of shooting?
I got into competitive shooting about 2 years ago.
Okay.
And that's when I got into firearms also. So I shot a handgun like 5 times at an indoor range, and then I did a competition. So I ended up buying a gun because I wanted concealed carry.
Okay, what'd you buy?
And then, it was a Walther PPQ subcompact.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, PPQ subcompact. I thought you were talking about the PPS. We know someone who has the PPS, and it's actually quite wonderful.
This was like subcompact, no optic, and then the more I shot, I was like, oh, this thing's disgusting. I don't like this.
They're chunky. That's Jersey's F-Series right there, and that thing.
Yeah, those are nice.
They are, but and it's all perceived because it's the width of the slide, but they're just so chonky.
Chonky. Thick boys.
Thick boys, like chonky salsa.
Hey, chunky salsa's the best.
What was the idea that drove you to competing? Was it getting better with the gun, or is it just because it's more fun?
No, well, it started off with getting better with the gun. So we had a friend that has been doing it for 10 years, and he got us out there to do it. And I did one match, and I was so terrified of doing something dumb like DQing that I walked the entire stage. My stages were like a minute plus long. And then I didn't do one for a month, and so then I did another one a month later. And I don't like being bad at things, but I'm also borderline unhealthy competitive. So I didn't do one for probably 9 months to a year. And then I was like, fuck this, I want to get really good at this. Because ever since college volleyball, I haven't had anything to like necessarily put that competitive drive into. So then I kind of just went all in on that. So it did start as getting better with my gun to carry, and then it became more of like a sport. Yeah.
So what division are you typically shooting?
I usually shoot carry optics. When I went to Handgun Nats, I shot in limited optics, but honestly, I shot my carry optics gun. I didn't change anything.
Yeah.
So like limited optics is more 2011s and stuff like that, and I just use my carry optics gun. Open Nationals is a whole different ballgame, so I picked up a gun last weekend to practice with.
Cool.
So I'm using a brand new gun I've never really shot before for Nationals next weekend. It's an Atlas Airbus.
I haven't played with any of those. They're just kind of not like something that falls into what I do in this realm.
There's no point unless you're doing competitive shooting. No point to them. They're really fun though.
Being a woman of discerning taste, you would call it a 2011, right?
A Shadow 2? No?
Damn it.
We had this whole conversation at TriggerCon
Yeah.
where he tried to convince everybody that a CZ Shadow 2 was the same thing as a 2011.
You were trying to convince him?
It's
Yeah.
pretty close, honestly. Like,
Because he's like, well, it's a double stack with a hammer. And I'm like,
Yep.
well, one is a double single, one is single action only. And he goes, wait, it's what?
Are HKs 2011s?
possibly. Did you know 1911 was made in 1911? I just recently learned that.
He's not joking.
Yeah.
Oh, you're special.
But it's good because I give him knowledge on things like that.
Yeah.
And then he is my spiritual advisor and he
Yes.
gets me through life without ending up in prison.
And he does your math.
He does do a lot of my math. Are you trying to like GM in every division or are you just like love it and so you're just gonna go for what you love?
I'm just going for what I love. If I end up switching divisions at some point, it'd probably be limited optics.
What about some circle stack action?
Some circle stack.
Yeah. Revolver.
I've never heard it called
You never
circle
heard
stack.
circle stack?
That is,
revolvers?
dude, that is great.
Circle stack.
Circle
Okay, I
stack.
was just gonna say, I'm like, what are you talking about?
Thank you. Okay, I'm not the only one.
My buddy Alex, he competes
Yeah.
out there in Revolver and he calls it circle stack, so I stole that from him. Another cool Asian. We're collecting them.
There's some cool ones.
We met some at TriggerCon.
Right.
They didn't bring up math once. They didn't bring up any of the wars.
No
it was
rice?
great. Nothing.
No,
it was like really peaceful. Are there any other types of competition you'd like to get into? Like I know the tactical athlete thing is big. We kind of make fun of it a lot, but cowboy action shooting.
I don't
Fast?
like the tactical games, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, so there's
Right.
different kinds. Tactical games is like mostly working out and then you do some shooting. I'm gonna do one called the Proving Grounds where it's like mostly shooting with some practical fitness like dragging dummies.
That seems more. Okay, I like the sound of that more because I feel like the tactical games. Oh, it's gonna hurt.
No, it's just a CrossFit competition.
This is okay. I feel like this would hurt people's feelings, but it's like bodybuilders and CrossFitters that want to look cool. Don't get me wrong. I actually know some ones that are like badass and they shoot
Totally.
really well, but it's small percentage.
Yeah, it's definitely on the other side of things.
Yeah.
What? Why are you shaking your head?
It's not just for CrossFits or whatever. I mean, fat people can do it.
Sean,
What? Tactical games?
Are you gonna go to tactical games?
I was having this conversation with Lee. I guess I'll step into this two ways. 'Cause this is
God, every question takes like 15 minutes. What? What's
Does
the
he have
question?
ADHD or do I?
no,
Like
I have the fucking issue. So
Honestly, there's so many letters in this room right now with combined disabilities. What are your favorite drills that you do to practice for competition?
Lately I've been doing a lot of designated target. So, I mean, you can set it up in different variations, but you'll have one target that's considered your designated target, and then you can set up 3 or 4, however many you want. You could change up the distance, you could add no shoots, hard cover, whatever it is. You do 2 in the designated target, and then you'd go to another one, and you go back to that one, and then you go to the other one, you go back to that one.
I see.
And you keep going back and forth. It's supposed to really work on transitions and like your vision and different like wide transitions. So I've been really liking that one lately.
Okay.
In dry fire and live fire.
What if someone only has access to a indoor range with lanes? What is a drill that they can do to practice for when they get to their competition?
I would honestly say dry fire, different drills, and then if your only option is to go to an indoor range and work on live fire, doubles. Because the only thing that you really need to work on in live fire is like recoil. One of the local competition shooters put this perfectly though. They said dry fire is your practice, live fire confirms your practice.
So what does your dry fire look like?
I mean, honestly, it makes up different drills. When I'm going into big matches like nationals, I've been dry firing twice a day, so once in the morning, once at night. But now that we're a week out and I have a different gun, I've been really pushing the live fire a lot more. Dry fire, I mean, I like to start off just getting like my grip warmed up. So even if it's just draws, throw in some reloads, get those warmed up, and then I honestly just like to work on transitions in my dry fire.
Do you use any of the like the apps or anything, or like any of the systems like Cool Fire, Mantis, any of those?
No, I don't really like those because the Mantis is supposed to tell you what you're doing wrong.
Yeah.
But I've heard when you start throwing in movement and it tries to tell you what you're doing wrong, it's not necessarily super accurate.
Yeah, I didn't even get that far. So I grew up gaming generation. I play a lot of video games, or I did growing up. I don't have time anymore. What I started seeing was a score. And then I started doing bad things with my grip and all this stuff to like get a higher score, and it just wasn't working for me. My wife and I will set up Post-it notes or whatever in the apartment, and we'll dry fire, transition, do squats with the rifle, whatever, like just to make it fun, get a little workout in.
I used to use Post-it notes actually, but now I have like those dry fire
Cool.
targets.
Yeah.
And those are really nice to use because it definitely helps with distance.
What would you say is the number one thing that people do wrong in their dry fire?
You could definitely pick up a lot of bad habits in dry fire or have dry fire scars. One of the biggest things that I've seen people do and that I've had to catch myself doing in dry fire is a lazy stance. So it's really easy to be dry firing and working on your grip, vision. Everything else could be fine, but you're not in a natural athletic stance as you should be when you're actually going to go to a competition. And I actually started to do that where I noticed my stance started to get a little more lackadaisical, like standing a little more straight up, and just I wasn't leaning forward. And it was a dry fire scar because I wasn't too focused on that in my dry fire.
Because you know there's not going to be any recoil.
Right. And then it started to translate over into matches. So now it's like something I have to consciously start doing again in my dry fire and remember like that stance.
So you're saying that when I'm sitting on the couch watching TV and just like doing this, that's not really benefiting me?
I mean, that would be fine if you're doing it here and there, but like if that's like your main dry fire, no, it's probably not good. Good practice for if you're in your car, you know?
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
Right.
Hey, I mean, this keeps circling back to Lee's interview. We talked about that dude shooting the guy outside of his truck.
Oh, yes.
He's probably been dry firing out his window in the garage.
Got like
Yeah.
the TV over there.
Yep. Or there's his cat's always over there being a jerk, and so he sprays it with the
You
spray
get the water
bottle,
gun?
like,
Yeah.
So why are you moving to Arizona?
I've just lived here my whole life. I want to try something different.
So you went to Arizona.
Yes, a couple reasons though. The biggest reason was it's close enough to because my parents live here. So it's close enough to my parents. My mom's a flight attendant, so it's a quick trip for them. It's the cheapest to move all my stuff to.
Okay.
And then I know the most people out there. So, I mean, instead of moving to like Texas.
When you get old, you want it to move.
Yeah, huh?
All the old people move to Arizona.
I
You should
feel
go
like
to
there's.
Havasu,
Oh, I want to.
right? Because then you have a better opportunity of like a bunch of drunk people breaking into your house, and you can check if you're zeroed.
I'm just gonna have my shot timer by my bed too.
Yeah. It'll be like, what was that noise? Beep.
Bill drill.
Yep. Probably the last question because I am fading fast. So you started out through concealed carry, discovered competition, and now have a better understanding of what makes a good handgun. How has that changed your EDC and your like home defense?
I mean, my EDC is my home defense gun. I use a M&P 2.0 compact. I love the gun. It's reliable. I like the grip. I'm not like super picky on my EDC besides I want it to run.
Yeah, and not be a PPQ subcompact.
Yeah.
What about that gun sucked?
Honestly, like the subcompact part, because they
I
have
see.
the extended mag, but if I ever wanted to like reload on it, I was gonna be crushing the shit out of my pinky.
Yeah.
Like it's gone.
Sean, as a man who has seen more eras of firearms than I have, what do you carry?
For what? Like concealed?
You got to go to Pueblo, and so you decide to strap up that day. What's in your pants that we can talk about in the next company,
What's in my pants?
other than a lot of urine?
What do you conceal in your
My
diaper?
1911 Smith & Wesson XDM.
Hey, Springfield
That's
XDM.
That's a single stack
XDS.
45.
So which one do you carry was the question.
Which one do I carry the most? Is still going to be my shadow system, yes. My DM920.
DR920?
Huh?
Yes.
The DR920?
DM 920 is when you send a DM to some lady
Ooh.
at 920 in the evening.
Farmers only?
You don't have to be lonely at farmersonly.com. Farmers wake up early and they go to bed early. I'm exhausted. Let's end this thing.
Yeah.
Brennah, thank you so much for
Thank
coming out and
you.
talking to us. It was a pleasure having you here. Good luck at Open Nats.
Thank you.
Good luck to the rest of you sitting through this interview. I hope you made it to this point, and if you did, make sure you go hit up Brennah. Where do you want them to find you, if at all, on the interwebs?
Instagram.
Handle, please.
Brennah Gaston.
Gaston or Gaston?
Gaston. Beauty and the Beast.
Or Gaston Glock.
Yeah, I didn't even know that
That's
was
his first name.
I know, I didn't
Well,
know
it was
that
his first
until
name.
he died.
Yeah. And you know they sell horse jizz, right?
What?
Wow. That's
Glock?
fantastic.
So Glock has their
Is that
own.
lubricant?
It's
That's
perfect.
their gun oil?
But so they have like thoroughbred racehorses, and you can buy horse jizz from Glock.
I'm guessing to breed more horses.
I hope.